recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we're here at the beginning of what's likely to be a very eventful week. We're considering two items today as part of this rule, both of which are bipartisan full-year appropriations bills. Today's bipartisan appropriations packages are the culmination of many months of hard work by both parties and in both chambers. Though this was a long road, I'm pleased that the negotiations were ultimately successful. I've often said that funding the government and keeping it open is one of the most fundamental duties as members of Congress that we have. Together, both packages cover full-year funding for all 12 appropriations bills. This is significant. By advancing full-year appropriations, that means we are not relying on another short-term continuing resolution. While funding with the CR is certainly better than shutting down the government, doing so also abdicates Congress's ability to adjust spending and policies to reflect the country's changing needs and priorities. It's important to remember that at the end of July of this year, Congress passed and President Trump signed into law the Bipartisan Budget Act of 2019, which set budgetary levels for fiscal years 2020 and 2021. This bipartisan and bicameral compromise was the result of a good-faith negotiation between the President and the congressional leadership, Speaker Pelosi, Majority Leader McConnell in the Senate, Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy in the House, and Minority Leader Senator Schumer in the Senate. That compromise achieved many wins for the American people, including a significant and desperately needed increase to support and rebuild our national defense. Though the budget agreement was enacted, the authorized spending could not be realized without full-year appropriations. Fortunately, that's exactly what we have here today. I want to highlight a few key provisions, Mr. Speaker. The bill fulfills the top-line spending numbers Congress agreed to in the budget deal earlier this year. H.R. 1158 provides an increase of $19.5 billion for our armed services over fiscal year 2019, which will allow us to continue rebuilding America's military. The additional funds will enable us to remedy our readiness crisis, allow our service members to secure the valuable training time they need, and give those same brave service members the largest pay raise they've had in a decade. On the domestic side, the appropriations package boosts the funding for the National Institutes of Health by $2.6 billion. This is the fifth straight year of sustained increases for the NIH. The increased funding places the United States as the unquestioned global leader in biomedical research, which will lead to continued efforts to cure diseases like Alzheimer's and cancer. The bill also includes a significant increase for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, America's frontline defense against pandemics, HIV/AIDS, Ebola, and other deadly diseases. The bill includes substantial increases for various federally funded education programs like IDEA, Title I, Impact Aid, and early childhood education. There's also a significant increase in funding for Head Start. Close to my own heart are TRIO and Gear Up, two programs that help disadvantaged students and low-income students or first-generation college students to succeed. These programs will receive a $35 million increase over fiscal year 2019, ensuring that still more students are able to achieve academic excellence. We're also increasing spending for career and technical education by an additional $20 million. And perhaps most critically for rural areas, we're providing a robust increase for a medical student education program to ensure we're training more primary health care providers who want to work in rural areas. The bill also includes critical tax extender provisions that have either lapsed or are due to be reauthorized at the end of the year. This important end-of-the-year package ensures that these important provisions will be maintained in law. Provisions like the Indian Lands Tax Credit and the Indian Employment Tax Credit, which are both of critical importance in my district. Typical tax credits provided to individuals who have been affected by disasters will also be extended under this legislation. I'm also pleased that 3 additional provisions of Obamacare are permanently repealed in these appropriations bills. The so-called Cadillac tax, the medical device tax, and the health insurance tax. These provisions served two insidious purposes: driving up the cost of health care and forcing people to give up good health care plans that they enjoyed. I'm thankful that my friends in the majority finally recognized this and included these overwhelmingly bipartisan solutions in the legislation before us today. Finally, the bill maintains important pro-life protections that have been in previous appropriations bills. The so-called Hyde and Weldon amendments remain intact. Maintaining these protections are important to securing bipartisan support for these bills. Though there's a lot to like in these bills, Mr. Speaker, there are also some things I would change if it were solely up to me. I don't think any one of us here, Republican or Democrat, would view either of these bills to be perfect. But what we have achieved here is a bipartisan compromise. I think all of us in this chamber can be proud of the work we've accomplished here, especially in times of divided government and in an ever more polarized political environment. Finding compromises across party lines and between chambers of Congress and the administration is no small feat. That we have done so here today is a testament to the House of Representatives and a reminder that the things that unite us are more powerful than those that divide it. With that, Mr. Speaker, I reserve the balance of my time.